Hello everybody and welcome to Rest and Reason. I'm RP the Red Panda and today we're going to be looking at Carcassonne. Now, Carcassonne is the 6th game in my Fixer Upper series. And I really quickly wanted to implore you guys to think about a few things about this series, and that brings me to my first thing that I've noticed about these videos. You see, I put out a lot of positive videos that had positive titles before I put out this What's Wrong with Board Games playlist. And I got almost no views, and basically no comments, and no interaction really at all from the board game community. But now that I've gone somewhat negative by a lot of people's ideas, when really I'm just trying to provoke conversation, suddenly I'm getting lots of views. Suddenly I'm getting comments. And even if those comments are just, oh, your title seems abrasive, it helps my channel, and it also gets somewhat of a conversation going. I hear something from somebody. So I want to ask you guys, if you want positive things on the internet, you need to positively interact with videos. Whether they're negative videos or positive videos, you need to interact in a positive way with them. You need to have conversations and try to take unbridled rage and turn it into discussion, where everybody benefits and learns something. And that's what these videos are all about. And that brings me to my second point. I'm a professional developer. That's my job. And so when I get games, my job is to take that game and make it the best possible version it can be. And so that's what this series is all about. It's me turning my passion as a professional developer who makes the games polished and polishing games that I feel like just aren't quite the best they can be. And I, just like every developer, want playtesters, you, the audience, to interact with my changes, because that will help me become a better developer. But just saying, oh, I don't agree with you, that doesn't help me. You have to say why you don't agree with me, so that I can grow, and so that maybe I can help you grow by disagreeing with you. My final thing is that, yes, some of these might seem very difficult. Some of my changes can sound very scary at first. But I can assure you that when I've implemented these, I've even been able to implement them with players of a wide spectrum of abilities. People who aren't very good at board games have still been able to understand many of my changes, or all of my changes that I've made to board games. But I highly recognize the fact that for somebody who's played these games a lot, it will be hard to change from what you used to do to what I'm suggesting. So I'm not saying it will be super easy. I'm just encouraging you that I have found that it is worth the try and that it does not make the game more difficult in the long run. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into Carcassonne. Now, Carcassonne feels like this really weird game where you're building, or discovering, rather, a feudal kingdom, and you're putting out claims on this kingdom. Honestly, it almost feels more like you're in the New World of America, claiming cities and roads and stuff. And you're doing that so that you have the most influence and power over this new world you're discovering. And it does this through a really interesting mechanic. And I at first thought that it was a puzzle game, which I haven't covered yet and I'll hopefully cover in the future. But then I realized, this isn't a puzzle game. This is a dominoes game. This is a 4-sided domino. And just like dominoes, you take one, you have to put it on somewhere, you have to match it with one side of the prior domino, or one of the other prior dominoes. So, it's a 4-sided domino. Carcassonne is a really fun beginner board game for a lot of beginners because, without realizing it, I think a lot of people are enjoying it for the same reason they like dominoes. All you have to do is pick up one domino and match it with the other dominoes out there. That's all you got to do. It's that easy. And it's comforting and warm, and it grasps people in. That's its advantage, that it sucks people in with this dominoes feel. This video is mostly about its disadvantage and how to fix it. And its main disadvantage is the roads. Now, the roads are unbalanced, and you might ask, why does that matter? And I say it's because roads are more than a third of what this game is about. There are 3 elements: cities, monasteries, and roads. And roads, if you notice, are on 3 of these 4 tiles. And that's kind of how this game goes. Roads are everywhere. Cities are in many places, and monasteries are almost nowhere. And this means that roads are kind of the heart and soul of this game, but they're very, very weak. Because this road is worth 2 points. Even if it gets completed on both sides, like this, it's still only worth 4 points. This city right here is already worth 3 points with just 2 pieces. This monastery is already worth 4 points with just these pieces. So both of these ones are quite powerful. They give you a lot of points, but roads give you almost nothing. And I've found that in the games I've played of this, if somebody gets more roads than somebody else, they pretty much always lose. And whoever gets more monasteries or more cities is the one who wins. So, how do we fix this problem? What's the solution? The solution is actually pretty simple. You just have to change the roads and how the roads work. And my wife is actually the one who came up with this idea. We were brainstorming together, we were thinking through, and we were going, how do we fix this road problem? And my wife was like, what we should do is make it so that you score for what's at the ends of the roads. I was like, that's genius. It's simple, but it also is thematic, because ultimately, is a road any good if it goes to nowhere? Not really. But if it goes to somewhere, and somewhere important, it's definitely a good road. So, my change works as follows. This road originally is worth 4 points for the 4 tiles involved in the road. My change would add 1 extra point for each of the villages or abbeys finishing off the road. So it would be 4, 5, 6. 6 points. Now, if you had a city at the end of the road, it would be 4, 5, and then 2 bonus points for the city at the end of the road. So 6, 7. So this would be a 7-point road. This makes it so that you have an incentive to finish the roads, because if you don't finish the road by the end of the game, this would be 1, 2, 3, and you would get no bonus, because this goes to nowhere. So it's not helping anybody come to this abbey, to this monastery. Same with this city. Nobody's really getting helped to go to this city with this road leading to nowhere, so it would only get 1, 2, 3 points, because it only helps a very small amount for people. So, this not only makes thematic sense, but also makes roads a very competitive and very interesting part of the game. There is one other thing that I changed that doesn't have to do with the roads. It just has to do with one of the weird scoring things that the game originally did. So originally, if I put this here, and didn't put a guy here, but I put a guy here, and then I put this here, I can immediately put a guy there, immediately get 2 points, and then take him right off. Even worse, if I put this here, and then I put that there, and I put a guy on here, I would get immediately 4 points for free. This is never a good mechanic in a game, where you can score instantly for doing nothing but getting absolutely purely lucky. That's not a good element to a game, even a pure luck game. That's very frustrating to watch somebody get that level of lucky, especially in this game where that happens a lot of times to one person way more than another. So, I made it so that you may not place a guy on any completed structures. So this is completed, so you wouldn't be able to put it on here. You would be able to put it on that road. It's not completed. If you put this together, you wouldn't be able to put it on the road. It's completed. You would have to put it on the abbey. The original score for this game was a 3.05 out of 5. And that's an above average score for a game. But even though it's above average, it still only gets a bronze recliner. And you may ask, why does an above average game get only a specific recommendation? And the reason is simple. I'm thinking about this in the guise of the three different people who are buying board games. One is the person who's only going to buy 1 to 10 games. The next one is somebody who's going to buy like 11 to 50 games. And then the last one's the guy who's going to buy basically any game he ever finds that's going to be interesting to them. All these people are good people and good board gamers. But I'm trying to make my system one that helps all of them. If you're the person who buys any game whatsoever that sounds interesting to them, then that's what my bronze recliner means. It means if this sounds interesting, if this dominoes riff, this change to dominoes, this four-sided domino sounds interesting to you, then buy it. Absolutely. It would be great on your collection. But if you're one of those people who buy 2 to 50 games, maybe think about it a little bit more. Maybe think, is there a game I could get instead of this that I might like more? And for that person who buys only 1 to 10 games, I would say you probably don't want to buy this game because you're only going to own 10 games. And there are really, really good games, especially beginner board games. If you click on this link right here, you'll get to see a whole list of really awesome beginner board games. And honestly, this one's not real high on that list. We are in a world where there are so many great board games that even an above average board game might not quite be worth it for the average buyer. It might only be worth it for those who have a lot of money to spend on board games. But with my changes, I would give this game a 3.5, not a 3.05. And that brings it up to a silver recliner, which means it's a general recommendation. I would say, once you change the roads, that this is a game that I would generally recommend. If you're going to have a mid-sized collection, this is probably a good game for you to get, especially because it appeals to a wide variety of ages and levels of ability. And it's also just a real pleasure to play with its feeling. It is so much fun to play dominoes, where you're just putting stuff down peacefully in a pattern that works. That's just a very happy feeling. I would love, like I said, for you guys to comment on this video and discuss this with me. Discuss if you agree, disagree, or anything in between. But I really would like to have a discussion with you guys. And please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, be one of my meeples so that we can be an army conquering the internet together. And as always, thank you so much for joining us today on Rest and Reason.